Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report, brought to you by Red Raider Outfitter, the fans' favorite since 1975. I'm Jared Johnson, and 1 year ago today, November 8th, 2021, Texas Tech announced the hiring of Joey McGuire as the head football coach. And for most of this year, it's been an overwhelming wave of positivity, which has been a nice change for Texas Tech football in terms of the way things have been recently. Now, here right now, Joey McGuire is facing more adversity than he has in this year of being the head coach in terms of facing criticism. The Red Raiders have lost 4 of the last 5 games, including the last 2, to in-state rivals where the game was there, but fourth quarter collapses did the Red Raiders in, and there were some decisions that McGuire made, and he's receiving criticism, which he should be. But my timing of this, like I said, this losing streak and the criticism he's facing is right on par for what I usually do. I go against the grain. I can't help it. I guess this is just how I am. But I usually have the coaches mad at me for asking questions they don't want to field, and then I usually have the fans are like, "What is he talking about?" Because I'm going against the grain. There's a lot of people out there saying that perhaps McGuire isn't the right guy. What are these decisions he's making? I want to say a couple of things. First and foremost, I support Joey McGuire in terms of I think he is the right hire. I really believe that. I believe that a year ago. I actually believe that a couple years ago. I believe that a year ago, and I believe that today. I'm going to give you my reasons why here in a minute, but also what I'm not going to do is make excuses for Joey McGuire and his coaching staff. I've read some stories about kind of, give him time. It's his first year. He has this roster. He has that. No, you're not going to hear that from me. I think that those kind of pieces have their place, but that's not really what I'm about, making those excuses. But what I will say is, absolutely, Joey McGuire should be criticized. I mean, he's the head coach at Texas Tech. Might as well be the governor of West Texas. I mean, when you have that kind of responsibility, and I face criticism from my customers all the time about what I say, how I say it. A lot of y'all want me to throw my shoe at the coaches during this losing streak, which of course I would never do anything like that. But I do think you should hold them accountable and ask him, why did you do what you did that led to this result? And so we have, and I've asked all the coaches, I asked McGuire about his fourth down decisions and using analytics. I asked Coach Kitley about some of his play calls. I try to call it like it is, and they should be criticized. But Coach McGuire, at least, the reason why I still support him being the head coach, and I think it was a great decision, and I think there's going to be great times ahead, are one, he is the classic CEO type head coach that I personally believe you need in college football. He reminds me a lot of Mac Brown. His connections to the Texas high school football are second to none. He's a guy that, in terms of his energy and having his team, his players play hard for him, he passes with flying colors. It's every head college football coach has a little bit of politician to him. I mean, it's impossible not to. But I've known Coach McGuire at least a little bit, and some of the people around him, people who know him, who I trust for a long time, and he is legitimate. I mean, the way he is the real deal. The way what you see publicly is the real deal. And I think he's a smart football coach. I really do. Now, that doesn't mean he's infallible. That doesn't mean he hadn't made some mistakes here. I don't agree with how he's handled the quarterback position. I didn't from the beginning when he first started talking about it before the season. I don't agree with some of his analytics-driven fourth down decisions, though, again, you could argue you don't beat Texas if you don't play that aggressive approach. I like that he is aggressive. I'd rather have the head coach be aggressive and fail than be cautious and fail, if that makes sense. I'd rather go for it than not necessarily fourth down all the time, but I'm saying I'd rather the guy be more aggressive in his approach And if he fails, okay, compared to being weak or soft or whatever, or too conservative. Now, there's got to be a happy medium, and the hope is as he gains more experience in the Big 12 as a head coach, he'll figure some of those things out. In talking with him, another positive is that he's at least questioning. He doesn't have this tunnel vision or this dogmatic approach where, and I've covered a lot of sports at every level, and sometimes it doesn't seem to matter the level of the sport, it's just with the individual coach. Sometimes a coach just feels like he's too good to have to explain himself to fans or media or public or whatever, and that's definitely not the case with Joey McGuire. You can tell he's putting a lot of thought into this. Doesn't have that tunnel vision, which is good in my opinion. You want your coach to be learning on the, forever, just like all of us. How we're learning in whatever we're doing, we do for a living and in our lives. So that's good. I like to see that. I think, recruiting is better than it's ever been. It goes back to those connections in Texas high school football, and his recruiting staff is top notch. As we sit right now, about a month away from the early signing period, Tech has 25 commits, and it's evenly dispersed. A lot of good players in the trenches. It's ranked 21st in the country, and I would take that every recruiting cycle for Texas Tech, and you could build a top 25 program with that. So it's a good foundation. The key is going to be, I think, for this season, getting to a bowl game. But if they don't, they'll have to just bounce back from that. But that's still not going to shake my belief in Coach McGuire. Nothing I've seen. Now, there's some things that I'm nervous about, I'm worried about, some red flags, if you will. But in terms of overall, I think Texas Tech made a great hire. A year later, I still think, I definitely still believe in Joey McGuire as the head coach of Texas Tech, and I think there's going to be a lot of wins in the future. How long, how many wins, how far in the future, I don't know. But I do believe it's coming. So I'm not saying be patient. I'm not saying make excuses. I'm just giving my personal opinion as an observer who has some extra access than the average Joe. I think Texas Tech is on the right path under McGuire. But for now, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time.